video of the week, I hope. This is going to be a brief one. I'm not going to spend that much long on this one. This is Frankenstein Conquers the World and the War of the Gargantuas. This is Honda to double bill. This was an original and a sequel. These are great fun films. It's very hard to talk about, that's why it's going to be such a quick video, because I don't know what to say beyond you've got to see these films. It's that kind of thing. It's like, they're hard to get hold of, but if you get a chance to see them, you have to see them, because they're crazy. They are genuinely crazy. Now, they were made as a co-production between America and Toho, so they did American actors in it, but you also had most of the Japanese actors who were getting dubbed when they were brought over. And so it's basically American actors in the lead in, but they're set in Japan, and in both cases of both films, it's an American lead who's working in Japan at the time, just because, part of the international community or something or other. It's never explained in a way that really makes that much sense, but also it's never explained enough so you actually care that much about the logic of it all, because it's just a big monster movie. So it's like, yeah, I get it. You need an American star to finance the film. And also, the supporting cast is much more interesting than the American star, usually. That's just the way it goes. That's just it. And it's basically big monster movies. So the first one, right, this will take a lot, okay? Right. Starts off in Nazi Germany. They're losing the war. They've got Frankenstein's heart, right? Now I explained this plot to during one of Hussey's Touch of Film podcast, and everyone was laughing. So try and get through me talking about this and not laugh, because this is much weirder. They take the heart. They're losing the war, so this heart that never dies. For some reason, it never dies. They ever try to stab in it, so it never dies. So they take the heart and they send it over to Japan, because the Japanese aren't losing as bad as the Germans. So they send a U-boat to Japan. They transfer halfway through to the Japanese. Japanese take it back to their HQ and they start investigating this heart. That's Frankenstein's heart. Yeah, I know. This is the first 2 minutes of the film. And guess where it is? They're investigating. It's Hiroshima. A nuke goes off. And hence the title creature is born. And even a nuke cannot destroy this heart. Instead, flesh grows around the heart and the Frankenstein monster is created. As a giant creature that starts off as a boy who can run around Hiroshima just stealing food, who starts to grow slowly but surely into this giant monster. And they have to figure out what to do with it. Okay, so the film stars Nick Adams as the American scientist. He's a lot of fun in it, actually, because he was in one of the Godzilla movies as well. Like, he knew what kind of movies he was in, so he always managed to have fun with the absurdity of what he was doing. So he's pretty painless as the American doctor. He's game for all the nonsense. And there's also Kumi Mizuno, who's in a lot of monster movies as well, as the scientist. She's the best thing in the film. She's really enjoyable in this film. She's the doctor who actually cares about the Frankenstein monster as it grows, and trying to say it's not a thing. You just have to be kind to it and all the rest of it as it grows wild in the in the Japanese countryside. Of course, another monster appears that the Frankenstein monster has to fight. Of course that's going to happen. You need another monster for them to fight. You need monsters so they can hunt down the Frankenstein monster for a while. There's a whole section where he's in a lab, and it's all about him in a lab and him getting frustrated in the lab, and then he escapes, and then they have to hunt him down, and find out that he's not been the one that's been causing all the havoc. It's this other monster, and they have to fight. To the bitter end, they have to keep fighting. Now, you see that background behind me? That's how nuts the film gets at the end. Just a forest fires, big monsters fighting, Frankenstein monster fighting the monsters. It's just wonderful. It is just crazy. This is my favourite of the two. The sequel is the one that everybody seems to like more, but I like this one better. This one that I just thought was so enjoyable, so silly. It's so up for the fact that it's so silly. It's one of those ones you need to remake. It so needs a remake. But there's so little more I can say about it. Just you just have to enjoy. You have to go see it. It's a strange film, but so worth it. I mean, it's just so worth it. It's like because they even put a bit of effort into dialogue scenes. They have actors who they're doing nonsense, but they're having some fun with the nonsense. It's you don't mind the dialogue scenes in this one. It's quite enjoyable. And then you get the monster scenes with a giant Frankenstein monster with the weird shaped head and everything, fighting another kaiju. It's like, it's just great fun. It's just such nonsense, but it's just so much fun. I mean, just talking about it, I want to watch it instantly, and again, just talking about it is such a thing of beauty. You know, it really is. Okay, now the War of the Gargantuas is a different film, but it was really a sequel. What they're saying is, in this film, is like some of the cells from the Frankenstein monster mutated and became these Gargantuas. That's what they're saying. And now there's one that was they know of that is they thought it was a decent thing. It's a nice Gargantua, but then suddenly there's a reports of another Gargantua that's actually killing people and is murdering people, and they all think there's just one Gargantua. So you get the comedy of errors where there's two Gargantuas and they all think only once. They're hunting down the original Gargantua they think is the problem. Now the stars of this one is Russ Tamblyn and again Kumi Mizuno. Now the weird thing here, right, is she plays a different character from the first film, but they're referencing weird stuff from the first film, which she was in anyway. Russ Tamblyn plays a character who's very similar to the character played by Nick Adams in the first film, but he's not the same character. Basically because they cast Russ Tamblyn rather than Nick Adams. So that means they couldn't use the same characters, even though it's a sequel to the first film. It's the same director. It's just weird. It's just really weird. But enjoyable. The Russ Tamblyn they hated on this film apparently. Apparently they thought he never followed the dialogue. He did what he wanted. But he's the best bit of the film because he's this like weirdo hipster guy within this weird monster movie. And it's really enjoyable because he's in a completely different movie. Now he started out with Seven Brothers, Seven Brothers and all these musicals. Then he made Trash for a while, and then he was brought back and was in like Twin Peaks and became a David Lynch regular. So he's a very good career. And this has to be one of his highlights, even though it's probably at the time it probably felt like a low light. But this is a beloved film that a lot of directors really enjoy. And it is a really enjoyable film, but I just like the first one better. I mean, the reality is, they're both probably the same, ultimately. They're both trashy, weird movies with a fun cast, a game cast and a game director who knows he's making nonsense. And you can like either one you like. I just think that for me, because the first one had the growth of the monster, and there was only one monster, you knew there was another monster out there. This one, the confusion of, is there one or is there two? It got a bit more tiresome than the other plot, but it's still really enjoyable once it pays off. It is good seeing these two monsters fight each other, and the good one and the bad one defined by what colour they are. It's just really enjoyable. There's just nonsense explosions in the fights, and it's just a weird movie. It's a really weird movie. I mean, it's very strange, which hence the visuals I've got in the background. But I remember more from Frankenstein Conquered the World. Like, I saw them both like, back to back, basically. And Frankenstein Conquered the World is one I remember a lot. And this one, I remember bits of it, but it's not the same. The thing I remember most of this one is Russ Tamblyn. But the plot kind of meanders a bit more. The good stuff is basically the monster fights. I just liked the other one had more non-monster fight good stuff in it. You know. And the monster fights themselves were more unique. This one just feels more samey. But I'm in the minority. A lot of people prefer more Gargantuas more than Frankenstein Conquers the World. I just like the other one better. But there we go. But they're both really enjoyable. They both have like slummy American B-movie stars who are actually having a good time, and a lot of actors from Japan who were probably wondering what could happen to their career while they're in this film. But it is really enjoyable. They are really enjoyable if you can find them. They're worth the effort to find. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a bit of nonsense for the end of the week since I'm covering quite a lot more serious films. I thought it'd be good to cover this one too. So that's me for the week. I'm hoping to have a podcast this week about the Godzilla vs Kong. I'll see what happens. If it's not up by the time you go to this video, it may have been delayed, but I'm hoping it happens this week. So that's me for now. Bye.